Hi, and welcome to another video in the RHCE video series. Today's video is on file content, so essentially managing those files via Ansible. Okay, let's get right into it. So the first thing I will do is just jump onto the client host and just create some temporary files. So just make a new dir, dir1, dir2, let's do some files. Just call it file 3 and dir to file 4. Okay, so I've got two dirs. Okay, so let's do ls minus lr and dir1 and dir2. Okay, so we've got just those directories. Awesome. So let's exit out of here and clear my screen so I'm back on the Ansible server. Okay, so as always, I've just got added my client details to the inventory file. Okay, so the first one we're going to talk about is file, which essentially is an Ansible core package, so we won't have to install it. But yeah, it's just basically able to make modifications to files, such as when it was last accessed. You can set attributes like the ownership of the file. You can set modification times, you can set owners, yeah, all that kind of good stuff. So the first one I want to talk about is Ansible built-in file, which is a core package within the Ansible installation, so you'll get it by default, you don't have to install anything. This one mainly is about modifying the files themselves, so we can do things around removing files, adding files, or like touching files, that sort of thing. We can also do remove files. We can do soft links. We could potentially do hard links as well, though not very used that often. Yeah, and you can do all these different attributes and whatnot as you see fit. So I'll go through a few examples. I've created files on the system, on the file system the other end already. So I'll just target those files and make a few very simple changes to those. So let's just do files.yaml, and we just work in this file for today. Oh, yeah, I've almost forgotten the tasks. So tasks, and let's give it the first task. Let's change the ownership, change the ownership and group permissions. Okay, so we can obviously call it by the FQDN, which again they do recommend, but you can a lot of time just get away with just doing file. You'd hope that people won't use that. So the most important one is obviously path. We have to specify this in every case, not surprisingly. So it needs to know what file we're exactly targeting. So um, I think it's my directory, which is this, I believe. We'll soon find out if I got it wrong. And then it was dir1 and then file1. We'll set the owner. I think it's user1 group. Maybe I'll just set it to my okay, user1. If I've created that user already. If not, we'll do it manually because we haven't got that far in the videos yet. Mode, and we can set the mode to whatever we want. So it's the usual Noctil format. So we can say, well, I would say 755. And make sure you quote it in the same method. Okay, that looks all right. We'll soon find out if user1 was created on the system. Okay, so let's go give it this a whirl. Okay, so we've got it changed. What we can do is have a new tab because we may be checking this client one fairly regularly. So let's keep it in another tab. I see, yeah, it's client one. Okay, so let's see. Let's just do a print working directory. Let's do dir1, and so we should have ls. So it's CRA. We have user1. Yep. So that's changed it absolutely fine. So user1, and then read write execute 7 5 5. Awesome, and you've got a nice green indication that that's executable. So far so good. Awesome. Okay, let's make some modifications to that. We could say path of the directory. We can make the owner root, the group, my group of C England, and we can set that to 755 as well. Let's have a look. So before we do that, let's just double check what is set on this level. Let's just double check what's at this level. So so it's currently set C England. We have a read, write, execute, and read and execute on that directory. So let's go and update that. So what we're going to set it to owner root and the group. Let's just do root so we can make sure we see a reflection on that. Okay. Cool. And now it's owned by root. And yeah, we can see it's reflected immediately here, which is fabulous. So let's go ahead and create a symbolic link now. Okay, so next one, let's create a symbolic link. So give it okay, symbolic link. We just give the shorthand this time. We can give path or source or destination. So let's give source as C England dir1 file 1, and their store path is home C England file 1. So just doing it one directory above, and we're going to just set the state as link. So you've got a few options for the state there. So we have the state of absent, which removes the file. We have state directory, which will actually go and create directories if need to. File, which basically it will create the file if it doesn't exist. You can also use touch, which does basically the same thing. You've also got hard links and soft links, so hard is for hard links and link is for soft links. So I'm going to create a soft link now because essentially that's the most used version anyway. So I'll just run that now, so without the trailing slash, and wait for the magic to happen. We should have a symlink, yep. And if I do an ls here, we've got a file 1 symbolic link. If I just cd to file 1, oh yes, sorry, ls file 1. It's not a directory, isn't it? Then we've got file 1. I'll just do an ls. Should see the symbolic link in, yep. And there we go. Awesome. So that's working. So that's a pretty simple example. Let's go ahead and use the touch option. So another name, touch a file. Okay, so use file again because we know that works. It's nice and short. Use the path variable. We can say home C England dir1 file 3 because we only have up to 2 files in that directory. We then say state is touch, so we're going to touch the file. We can set modes if we want to, again on the file. I won't bother in this case. We can set a modification time. Spell modification correctly, underscore time. We can say now, but we can also just set a string, so it's just four characters for year. So we could potentially just say, oh, well, let's set something actually. Let's go 2022 month, so January. So 28, so the day before, and then hour. So I'll just do 10 dot and 10 and 10 seconds essentially. Okay, so we can set that modification time there, and we can do the access time exactly the same as well. So we can set that as a timer, but also we can just say now, which I think is okay for this. Hopefully I've got that time correct. We shall soon see. Okay, that's okay. And it was file 3, wasn't it? So ls okay, and then we do dir1 file 3. We have a modification of Jan 28 1010, which is the time I set. So we're just going to get the status of the file to get the access time. So the access time is basically pretty much matching the time I created the file, which is change and birth. So all good there. Awesome. So next thing I want to do is go ahead and create a directory. It's getting quite unwieldy, this file. Create a directory. I'll give it a file name. So file. Again, we got to set a path. We call it dir free because we don't have that. State is file. Sorry, state is directory, of course. And we can set the mode again, but I'll let it be default because it seems to always to do the same thing. Here again, we can actually go ahead and post this. We can actually go ahead and change the ownership recursively for a directory, so we'll do that afterwards. Okay, let's do a right quit and run this through again and touch a file, and all that good stuff. Note this has changed again, so this is happening every time because it's updating that value if it has changed at all. So if I've accessed that file, it will always change it. So create dir, so I should have so I have a dir3, which is here. Cool. And yeah, nothing really to report there. Okay, that was a pretty straightforward one. Let's go and change the ownership of that directory. Well, let's do it recursively, and let's do it for one of the ones we created earlier. So let's do this dir1 here. So let me bring it in here a bit earlier on in here, so it's easier to work with. I didn't give it a name, did I? So update, they are ownership and group permissions because okay, so let me just do file again, and we got to give it a path. We're going to set the owner, root, the group as C England, and we've got to say recurse. Yes, so I want that recursively. Did I remove? Oh, I didn't give the state. So the state is directory again. Okay, that should be good. We will run that through. Okay, so go and have a look. Yeah, one. So, yep, everything, including the directory itself, is owned by root, and C England is the group on there. So that's recursively set to all the files on in our file system. Cool, pretty easy, a simple one. Let's go ahead and remove some files. We've probably got enough already. Let's go to the end of this. Okay, and we're going to let's remove a file. Let's delete that file. Free. These will create and then the other one will delete it, so we'll go forever. Okay, and then state is absent. Yeah, so this is a very similar one to a lot of the other stuff. Let's recursively delete a directory as well. Again, we're going to set the path. So I've got dir2, which has got a couple of files in it from memory. Yep, so we've got file 4 and file 3 in there. So we're going to recursively delete it. That should do it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so first one was removed file 3. Awesome. And let's have a look at dir2. There's no such thing. Okay. Yep, so we only have dir3 and dir1 now. So that's worked as well. So all good so far. Okay, so the final thing I want to talk about is line in file. So that basically allows you to go through a file and make various changes to it. So it could be searching for a string and updating it. Could use something like a regular expression to make some updates. We could be adding new lines into files, all that kind of good stuff that you might want to do to manage a file. So I don't know, say if you need to update an IP in a config file somewhere, you may want to do it across the entire network, and you can do quite easily with something like this. It does have some crossover. We've got things like ownership and modes and stuff like that, like previous, where we can set that using this command. But obviously, I think the file modules covers it in more than adequately already, so it's probably not something to cover twice. For this, I've actually found some really good examples which I will use, and we'll run through these now. So I'll make a new, let's just copy this files, and we'll call it line in files.yaml. Okay. Now just do avim, and we'll just do just delete the rest of that, and let's start again. So the first good example I found is actually talking about going through a file, looking for we're using some regular expression, and then updating that line to match something. So in this example is using SE Linux. So that's actually you can modify the config file to update the permission level. So we're going to actually make sure it's in enforcing mode. So we can soon find out if it is or not. So we're going to do it's again Ansible built-in. So it's an Ansible built-in package. It can be line in file for the rest of it. Ansible built-in dot line in file. That's a bit of a mouthful, that one. Okay, so we're going to do path. So we've got similar things, similar format again. So it's SE Linux config. Obviously, you want to tread pretty carefully when you're making modifications to SE Linux. You don't want it to go wrong. So regex, regular expression, is what it's asking for here. So you guys should be familiar with regex expression from previous videos. So I could do a caret symbol to say the start of the line, SE and SE Linux, and we're going to do equals. So I'm looking for a start of a new line, and it's completely starts with SE Linux and it equals, and then they generally have their enforcing or permissive or whatever it is. So then we can say the line I want it to be is SE Linux. What line I want it to be is SE Linux equals enforcing. So we're going to enforce SE Linux on the system. Okay, so Ansible playbook -I inventory line in files. So we've gone OK. So that what that's telling me is that SE Linux is ready enforcing. So we can go and double check that very quickly. And I think I'm not root, so I need to go. I might be able to double check it. Let's have a look if I've got access to it. I don't think I will, but let's see. Okay, we have. So this is the line it's matching, and it's obviously matching exactly what we've got already. So it's not making any changes. So that's the good thing about Ansible. If it knows it's not making any changes, then it won't bother, which is totally right. The next one is a fairly common config. That's to remove the wheel group, because that's like a standard group on the system, which obviously if you get added to, then you've got basically root privileges. Obviously, it's a nice way of adding users into it, but you can potentially remove that out if that's not required. Obviously, make sure you tread carefully, make sure your own user is not a member of the wheel group and not added in that way. If it is, then you may break your system, or you may not be able to sudo to root post it. So tread very carefully when you make this command. So I'm going to call line in file rather than the whole thing. So again, we give a path. We got etc. sudoers. We're going to set the state absent. So we're not deleting the file. We've got to provide one more line still, and it's regex expression, and we're going to look for the wheel line, which again, to be safe, we should be using the caret symbol to specify the very start of the line, and then it's going to be %, and wheel, like this. We can also call validate, because this is sudoers. We want to make sure we're not breaking anything. So user sbin by sudo -cf s. So we're going to call by sudo and validate what we've added into the sudoers file is not breaking it. Hopefully I've got my grammar correct here and this works okay. So let's right quit, run it through again. We've got it changed, no error messages, so everything looks pretty happy. So as you can maybe see here, I was in the wheel group and I'm no longer in there. So thankfully I know my root user's password. So I can go in there now and have a look at sudo. Let's look for the wheel. And we still have allows people in group wheel to run all commands, but we do not have anything in there now. See, we have this previous line from here, but we do not have that. So we also have that root user1 user. But yeah, I've no longer got that in the wheel. So I can obviously fix that by adding that as present if I really wanted to, but that's absolutely fine. I can still sudo to root, so who cares? Okay, replace a local. Okay, let's go ahead and modify Apache config, because this might be a fairly common one. So let's go ahead and bin back into our file. I think I may have done this in previous video, but let's go ahead and do this anyway for completeness. So let me set in a path again. It's all very similar. I think it's httpd conf httpd.conf. Okay, then we say reg xp. We're going to look for the word listen. So which port are we listening on? And we want to say, I actually want to insert it after this line. So we can also say in the config file, I want to insert something after or before that line. So we can say after or before, and we then just specify again some regular expression to look for to where we can update. So I'm going to look for this hashtag listen and space like that, and we can go line. Are we going to put in there? We're going to put listen 8080. So we're going to change the port to port 8080. As it's such a important file, we can say backup yes to this, so it will back up the file before it does anything else, just in case. Let's give this a go. So we've got a changed, so let's go and have a little look. Conf http. Yep, I'm in there, so vim. So yeah, listen 8080 is correctly updated there, and it's after that hashtag listen line, so it's in the right place. Just check for any invalid entries. So we've only got those few, yeah, which is great. So that's updated correctly. If you look here, we also have the backup file. So that's the http conf, and then it's got a date time of when it's happened. So that's a really good safety feature, so we can back up the files if we have a look in there. I may have updated it before, so it may not look very different to what we had previous. So listen port 80, there we go. So it has actually updated it as part of that script, which is great. Okay, just one more really example I wanted to go through was just to literally add a new line of file. Nothing too crazy there. So let's go in here and just add another one. Add a line in a file. So we can go line in file path. Let's go for, it was dir1, and I think we still had file 1. We don't need any kind of regex, we just want to add a new line. So this is some text. Very exciting. And we do a create yes. So the create yes basically just says if the file doesn't already exist, we're going to go ahead and create it and add that line in that file as well. So we'll do create yes. We can do no, it doesn't really matter. But let's go for it and see what happens. We've got a changed. This is some text. Too easy. Yeah, so that's made that modification as well. I think that's really all I wanted to cover for that. Obviously the key things are the regular expression, and I mentioned earlier you can also use some of the chown like commands of setting ownerships and as well as those bits within here as well. So it's pretty powerful stuff. It does allow you to update a lot of files without having to be so hands-on into every single individual system. Yeah, I hope this video has been useful to you. Thanks again for watching. Right now I've just popped up on the screen my TeePublic page. That's for any kind of CSG merch, if that's anything that you're interested in. Got my Ko-fi page for any kind donations, if that's something you're interested in. Yep, and also just the details of my Discord server, so that's the best place to ask questions. Also, we've got, obviously, you can ask questions in the comments and I'll try and help out where I can, but Discord place is a great place. We've got a bit of a community going there, and you can reach out to myself and also the community, and someone will try and help you. Yeah, it's a great community we're building there. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you at the next video. Cheers.